Whoops. You didn't hear that? Yeah! How's it going, everybody? It's been a minute. Actually, it's been since the beginning of the month, so it's been like a week or two, about a week. Uh, how's it going? Hope everyone's doing well. Today we have something different, as we always do. It's been a little bit different throughout the last couple of months. But today with me, I actually have a guest. I told you I'd have a guest. I wasn't wrong. I wasn't lying. Just didn't say who the guest was. But now I will say who the guest was. He's been a character. He's been a person on the podcast before. He's been a person on the YouTube channel before, and he's a friend of the channel. For those of you who may not know, he's a voice actor who has been in shows such as A3, One Piece, as many characters, and Demon Lord Retry. Ladies and gentlemen, the guy who gets canceled because he wants to give positivity in the world, Erik Rolland.
Oh, well, thank you for that intro. You humble me.
I try. How's it going, man?
It's going well, dude. It's okay. It's going well on certain levels, and then it's going, I would say, tryingly or testingly, if those are words, on another level. My wife recently gave birth to our second child a few weeks ago. So we are navigating the waters of having a 3-year-old and a 3-week-old and trying to figure out sleep schedules and feeding schedules. And if one of us has to play defense for the other one while feedings are happening or while naps are taking place. So it's a lot of nights where only a few hours of sleep are had, very little time to be able to devote to the passions that both my wife and I have, her for writing, and then myself for entertainment and content creation. So it's a lot of focusing on the family right now and focusing on the faith at the same time.
And congratulations on having that second child. It's always nice to hear. It's always cool to hear people having babies, even though we live in a world that probably shouldn't be having babies.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, we had a little girl. Her name is Isabel.
Oh, that's precious. That's always good. Now you have to. Did you buy the shotgun?
Oh, yep. I got me a shotgun.
Good.
It turns out I didn't have to go and buy one. I just sawed the barrel off the one I had, so now it's strictly for home defense.
Ah, yeah. In Minecraft, right? Minecraft, yes.
Yeah. Oh, dude, yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Bro, the shotguns in Minecraft.
Deletion.
Bro, the shotguns in Minecraft. I have no idea if they exist, but man, I tell you what.
Yeah, they'll put a hole clear in a wall. They'll put a hole in anything. Love it.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, that's cool, man. You had a daughter. Is there? I saw that you actually got a new role in. Why don't you talk about that? What's been going on with that? Because I remember you saying that you had a game you were working on last time we talked. Did that ever get announced, or was that the project you were working on?
So it is one of the projects I was working on. The game still has not been announced. I spoke with one of the creators, let's see, maybe around a month ago, and they have made tons and tons of headway on it. I believe all the rest of the voiceovers are done. All the overlays and stuff that they had to put in vocal-wise have all been taken care of, and I think they're done with the play testing phase of it. So now I believe it's all about just getting the marketing done. A lot of money has gone into this game, and it's set to do, a couple sequels down the road. So I'm waiting with bated breath, as I'm sure the rest of the community who is aware of the game and what the title is are as well. I can't reveal the title of the game, unfortunately, but when I know, you'll know. So that's one of the things that has been sort of ongoing. And then for the audiobook world, my wife and I, we've been working on a time travel series, which has a bit of a romantic edge slipped into it as well. It's more devoted to time travel and the hijinks that ensue from going back and changing a timeline, where the outcome now makes it so that somebody who's very key in the story either wasn't born or is now a bad guy versus a good guy. And so there's a lot of back and forth trying to fix things. They're losing people in the past, or losing them even further in the past, where they're going to chance running into a younger version of themselves and causing, as the Ghostbusters would put it, total protonic reversal. So that's been a bit of a fun series as well.
And didn't you also have a YouTube, or is that the what I'm referring to with the YouTube series that you had come out? It was you and a bunch of other voice talent was on it. I remember you tweeting about it. What was the name of that again? The something Dawn, I believe it was.
Oh, I think it was Crimson Dawn, I believe is what it is. That one is really, really cool. Barbaric 8 Productions is the one who put all that together. And like, this dude is very, very, I gotta give it to him, he's very, very talented in the area of, I guess, animation, but more to the point, CGI. Because I don't have a brain for that, unfortunately. I mean, maybe if I spent the next 4 years back in school, I could have a solid handle on it. But he's been doing all the animations himself. And then he got a ton of us voice actors to come in and do various roles within it. And I know that his eventual goal is he has the pilot done. I know that he'd like to pitch this as an actual show. Sort of like how they did for Has Been Hotel or for Hell of a Boss, where it did the pilot up as best they could on their own and then pitch it to a larger network. So we're gonna see where it goes from here. But that was a really fun one. Got to be a part of an enormous cast.
Yes, and if it does get picked up by any of these studios, unfortunately, all your favorite voice actors will be replaced by lifeless husks who doesn't really care about the products. I'm sorry, I'm not bitter. Not saying that specifically for Has Been a Hotel, because I wasn't into Has Been a Hotel like that, but I don't think it's right to just go, hey, we're gonna fire everybody.
Dude, it's so sinister when that happens. Or I mean, you look at legacy shows like even Dragon Ball Z. You had the Ocean dubs, and I believe those were done out of Canada. And then Funimation got a hold of it, and it was like the Ocean dubs just got redone completely again by the new cast. And so many people, they only ever grew up with Kai. They never got to see the original Ocean dubs, the original "It's over 9,000." They never got to see that original bit. They did do a bit of justice, however, to the gentleman who voiced Vegeta in the Ocean dubs. And when there is I didn't watch the episode, but I know that there's like a crossover timeline episode or episodes in Dragon Ball Super where there's two Vegetas, and they actually got the original guy who did it for Ocean to come back and reprise his role. So that I thought was pretty cool to do. But you're not wrong. When they go and replace an entire cast who has been working on it from the ground up, like this is their baby, that chafes something fierce.
Well, that actually that makes an interesting topic to segue into, because have you ever seen Rurouni Kenshin before?
Yes, I have.
The original 90s with like Richard Cancino and Dorothy Fawn and those people, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you're aware that they did like these films, the live action films that were supposed to continue the story, and then they hired a different cast altogether.
I knew that they did live action films. I hadn't heard, the ones that I saw, I watched it in Japanese.
Ah, fair enough.
I haven't seen the dubbed versions of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I was unaware that they hired all new people to do the dubbed films.
Yes, and then because of the fact that the mangaka for Rurouni Kenshin was the one who picked out these voice actors for the live action, Sony Aniplex went in and scrubbed everybody from that dub and went with a whole new different direction altogether.
It is so brutal when they do that.
All because of the mangaka being a convicted kitty watcher of diddlers. DVDs of it, if you...
Oh gosh, so it's like, nuke the entire cast because one bad actor in the whole thing decided that they wanted to go and do something nefarious.
No, it wasn't the bad actor, it was the mangaka himself.
I should probably use a different word. When I say bad actor, I mean somebody in general making
Oh
bad
yeah, because that's
actions.
actually kind of specific for this. But no, yes, more or less they went. Yeah, he's a convicted predator, convicted pedo, and we need to make sure no one. We're gonna dub this Rurouni Kenshin thing, but we don't want anybody to be related to or anybody to be linked back to the original mangaka because he's a bad person, and we don't want to. We don't want people to associate this project with the mangaka, even though the mangaka is the one who created it. It's just weird. Like, it's really weird. It's also sad that the voice actors involved, whether you like them or not as people, they had to be under NDA for so long because of the fact that they were like, well, we wanted things to cool down because everybody's going after the voice actors, and it didn't really help anything. The voice actors still got targeted for being in the show. The main voice actor for that plays Kenshin got more or less, not canceled because canceled means that they actually got off, like they were off of something, but they got more or less canceled in the fact that people came after them was like, how dare you voice Kenshin, you horrible person, don't you know that the person who made this is a convicted yada yada.
Dude, like as if they had any say in what that person did in their personal time. It's like when somebody wants to go and try and slap some sort of litigation on Smith & Wesson because a weapon that they designed and produced was used to murder somebody else. It's like, dude, we just provide an implement that is neutral in and of itself. It can be used for great good or great evil. We have zero say in how somebody decides to use it once they purchase it from us. Oh, we can tell them all the legal mumbo jumbo, but we don't get any say in all that, so you can't come for us.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like the whole we're gonna sue McDonald's for the hot coffee thing when they know it's hot coffee.
Oh yeah, or those two corpulent gals who tried to sue McDonald's for making them fat. And then they actually got all the way to trial, and the judge looked at them and more or less said something amalgamating, are you too inept to control your own hand-to-mouth motion? No, I reject this outright. Get out of my courtroom.
That's a lawsuit if I ever heard one.
Dude, it was primo. Threw the book at him. I mean, I do like that vernacular lawsuit. I'm stealing that. That's mine now. You can't have it back.
Oh. Well, being very possessive, I see.
only on fun terminology.
Have you been keeping up? You've been such a busy guy. Have you been keeping up with the happenings in the world, the wacky world that is America?
A little bit, yeah. It's I will say I was a bit out of the loop as of a couple weeks ago. Had not really had any time to even like listen to a news podcast. But I've been getting myself caught back up to speed in recent days since you have a lot of, I don't want to say you have a lot of nighttime free time, but when baby's up and only one of you can feed the baby at a time, usually the other parent is making sure the bottle warmer is set or figuring out I guess changing opportunities so I can pop in an earbud and listen to some stuff. And I did see that Funimation has finally officially shut down all of their servers on their website. Now it just directs you to Crunchyroll.
Yes, and oh. Even in death, you are assholes. Funimation charged me for their services yesterday.
Are you serious?
I got charged $6 for Funimation.
No.
I was so pissed off. I was like, wait, what? How? Why? When? Can I get access to my library? Like, what the hell is this? I got charged $6, and I was like, and I was with a bunch of people, and they were helping me try and find a solution, and they're like, why don't you just call? And I laughed, because that would make sense for an actual company to have a phone line, especially when they're a retail distributor. Oh, why don't you just email them and send it in a ticket? Yeah, when their own voice acting people that they work with complain and say that I sent in a ticket a year plus ago and they still haven't got back to me. They never got back to me. In fact, I had to go out and buy a new Blu-ray altogether because I worked on this show and they gave me a free Blu-ray, But then they ended up giving me, or it was either she bought it and it was messed up and she never got anything back from it and she had to buy the same thing again, or it was she got the free one and then she had to rebuy it because the Blu-rays were messed up. Either or. Nevertheless, you work with this individual. You should not be. It shouldn't be we're going to take our sweet as can be time. And this was before Crunchyroll was even bought by Funimation. Or, Sony bought Crunchyroll. Yeah, I was pissed off. I was also mad that I was in the middle of shows, or not in the middle of shows, that I had a deadline. It was kind of, out of nowhere, but not really out of nowhere, because they gave us about a month and a half notice. But still, Crunchyroll is not blind accessible at all on the console, because that's where I mainly watch it, or where I would mainly watch it. Is like you can't screenshot it, so you can send it to your friends and be like, "Hey, what's this?" Or it doesn't talk to you, it doesn't make noise. It's very unblind friendly on the PlayStation. So Funimation was useful. It was very easy to use, and that's where I watched most of my shows. And I'll tell you what, I marathoned at least a good 8 or 9 anime within that month of Funimation dying. I kind of went overboard.
Yeah, well, yeah, I get it. I mean, this is like before the tap gets shut off.
Well, some of these, and the thing is that a lot of these shows I've been watching are going to be dead because, well, it's too old of a show. We're not going to reinstate that. What, that show is over 12. We lost the rights to Dragon Ball. You think we're going to renew this shitty little ecchi show or this super funny comedy show that breaks the fourth wall?
Yeah. Well, and what also is, like, to your point there, so much of anime right now is all straight derivative. It's like, if you've seen one isekai, then you've seen the entire 2/3 of their next month's lineup. Like, every single show that I've been seeing come out, which I shouldn't say every single show, but by and large, you get, like, one good show, and then you have to sift through 100 garbage derivative shows. It's like the isekai done all over again, the sports anime done all over again, the exact same plot virtually, just different names for the characters, people who act the exact same way, have the exact same relationships, the exact same hang-ups and quirks. Like, it's lost the je ne sais quoi that it used to have. Like, I remember back in the 90s, 98, 99, 97, around that time, there were some really killer shows that came out. Like, that was when Cowboy Bebop came out, Trigun came out as well. They were showing reruns of, like, Fist of the North Star. You had 8th MST came out, Macross. So many of these amazing shows, and when you watch them pitted up against shows nowadays, the production value in those shows, even though it may not have been cel-shaded the same way that they are now, the production value was so much higher because they didn't skimp on their animation, and the stories were a lot richer. Now it's like, hey, we need more fodder for our next season, so just copy, paste, isekai, show here, and we'll just change the faces and the hair colors.
Or in the case of something like newer shows nowadays, and I know you probably don't watch the newest stuff. I don't have the newest show you've seen is probably back in like 2015, 2017 or something like that. But they are so fast. In one episode, a new show that just recently came out called Magic and Muscles. It's hilarious. In fact, I don't think you've worked with any of these people because they're all hella union. So you could watch it in English if you wanted to, which the dub gets localized to hell and back because it's a comedy, and Sony is the one, it's an Aniplex show, but nevertheless, it's a great show. I enjoy it. In the first episode, you find out he has no magic. He gets caught by the magic police. He fights the magic police, gets told about the Magic Academy, is about to enroll in said Magic Academy. Within the first episode.
Jeez.
Demon Slayer.
I was just gonna say, it reminds me of not Demon Slayer, but oh crap, what is it? Blue Exorcist. Similar kind of thing there. All that happened in the first episode there as well.
Really? I've never seen Blue Exorcist. A lot of people tell me I should watch it. Did you know that there is new seasons of Blue Exorcist out that are currently being dubbed? I
did not know that.
Yeah,
that is an excellent show.
And they, And they got all the same cast back as well, even with Wendy Lee.
Awesome. Wow.
Did you hear about the Wendy Lee stuff that went down not too long ago?
Mm-mm.
Oh, are you familiar with this? This happened when Thousand Year Blood War was airing. Bleach, you know, Bleach Thousand Year Blood War. Are you familiar with a character named Yoruichi?
Yoruichi. I'm not sure if I am.
Have you seen Bleach at all? Have you seen it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I used to read the manga.
Oh, okay. So Yoruichi is that sexy black cat girl.
Oh, with the purple hair.
Yes, with the purple hair, and she hangs around hat and clogs, and she's kind of got that built about her a little bit. She's kind of thick. She's got them legs. Yeah. But anywho,
thick as a bowl of oatmeal.
Mm-hmm. She's voiced by Wendy Lee. And remember what I just said. Fine black woman.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what that means when I say, when a voice, and remember Wendy Lee is white.
Mm-hmm.
So she's, no, you can't do that. You gotta be voiced by a black person. Yeah, she kinda got attacked for voicing Yoruichi, because what happened was, she got replaced for that 1 week by another voice actress who doesn't even deserve to be named, and she is a black Hispanic. She got to voice this character. Everybody at the time was like, what the hell is going on? Why is it Wendy Lee voicing this character? Because Wendy Lee, obviously Yoruichi is super popular. Wendy Lee's super popular. She's very well known and whatnot. So they're like, where is she? And it ends up coming out that Viz Media puts out a statement saying, there is a list of people that people's names that are on a list that not to be coming back. Wendy Lee was on this list. Their whole thing was we wanted to go away from Union, which is fine. Go away from Union. It's cost effective.
What a cover.
Yeah, what a cover. I want to know the crazy part? 5 episodes before that even happened, she was in there voicing another character.
Whoa.
And the previous core, she was voicing another character, reprising her role.
You know what sickens me about that whole thing is it's such a pandering maneuver. Now, we know that these large corporations, like, we'll say Coke, Sony, the Bilderbergers, the Vanderbilts, we know that they're all bought people. Like, we're talking about lineages that are behind these companies that go back, like, 4 or 5 generations. Like, we're talking people that laid the foundations and the capstones of Illuminati and of the Freemasons. Like, that's how deep so many of these entities go. And everybody's in everybody else's pocket. And they know damn right that they don't give a shit about who plays said character. But they're pandering so hard to this collective Vox Populi who they're just trying to secure certain types of thought processes out of. Like, I mean, I go down the rabbit hole on certain conspiracy theories. Like, if you read the WEF's book that came out, the World Economic Forum, by Klaus Schwab, they flat out say inside of that they're working very, very hard to essentially mind control people through injections and injunctions. Like, that's laws and then chemically doping up your brain to make you compliant for their own new world order. So I know they don't give a rat's ass about who plays these characters, but they're towing that line because they know that it's going to be a hot button topic socially. And what drives me even crazier about that is, if we were really going to get to brass tacks and decide, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and be fair to everybody that this concerns when it comes down to voicing a character whose ethnicity is not of our own, then myself, and I would say 98% of the people out there who voice anime would have to just say, okay, well then I guess I'll never work in this business again because I'm not Japanese. I'm not this Japanese person who's on this show, which is set in Japan, whether it be in the feudal era, the Edo period, or current modern day. I'm not Japanese, so I guess I better just not voice this character. But oh wait, no, I guess the Japanese, they're close enough to white, so who cares? It doesn't really matter. But God forbid, there's a black character inside the show voiced by a white person. I mean, Phil Lamar, Samurai Jack, and he's not Asian.
And he does a wonderful job, and he's also maybe a vocal chameleon. We don't know about that one. That's neither here nor there. But I see what you're saying, and the whole like fallout about it, or the whole thing that got everybody annoyed, is that they lied and was like, we know that that's not the case. and a lot of voice acting people that were supposed to be. And Wendy Lee even said the equivalent of, "I thought you guys were my friends. Like, what the hell? I've casted you in shows."
Dude.
And
Yeah, she's not wrong because it's such a sinister way to behave. Like what that does there is when you demand that the person playing the role be of the exact ethnicity, you're demanding of this actor for them to not use their God-given acting ability. Like that's the entire point of being an actor. You enter with belief the imaginary circumstances of the scene, and when it comes to voice acting, you can be anything or anyone. Like there are certain intonations and so certain inflections and certain tones inside a person's voice that are sort of inherent to certain races. Like I can tell a lot of times when I'm listening to somebody speak if that person is white or if they're black. You can hear it inside somebody's voice, especially if somebody is going to speak in a Jamaican accent. You can draw your voice way back in your throat. You can make it pretty believable. But a lot of people would look at that and go, "Wow, that was a pretty convincing Jamaican accent." But was that from a white guy? No, we can't have that on the show. Even though, like, the person who can do that accent might be a way better actor than any of the Jamaican people that go out for said character. It's so infuriating.
and if you want a perfect example of what, and the thing is that, like, if so, and I've talked with this to people in my social group. I made the comment saying that, well, at least they can act. Like, for example, some of these people that will have on their Twitter handle, again, not needing to be named, diversity hire, or something to that akin. And that person in question can act well, very good, very well, they are very good at what they do. It's just that why do you have to go off of the diversity hire thing? You could just go based off of your talent, and also why, like, I don't understand why these people need to be voiced by the same ethnicity. That means that somebody like me who is already facing if I wanted to do voice acting because of my already physical limitations, that means I have no shot because I'm me.
Dude, seriously, it's another way, like apart from it being this weird party line towing thing that they don't even believe in, it ends up becoming more gatekeeper-ish. And it totally bastardizes the entirety of the culture and the entirety of the entertainment world, because you're absolutely right. It is DEI. It's absolute DEI. And that rips the soul out of whatever you're working on, because you're then saying to not just the people that are trying out for the show, but to the cast, you're saying, we didn't want the best people for this role. We didn't even want the best people for this show, or even this entire, maybe it's a series of different shows with different arcs. We didn't even want the best people. We just wanted to check a box. We want to check a box so that we can go to bed at night with a clear conscience for having gotten our diversity and inclusion quota met.
Oh, sorry, continue. I apologize.
No, sorry. Just, I guess, last on the note on this. It's even more gross now to watch people that I was coming up with at the same time in Funimation now walk lockstep with the psychos out there that are trotting out this garbage, and they're more or less echoing it verbatim, even though they were scraping just like me for any little scrap that they could get and cherishing every single thing. Like, we've all played monsters, we've all played animals. I'm not a monster and I'm not an animal. Should we have gone ahead and cast an actual Bigfoot to go ahead and play the boar demon that I played?
Well, I mean, Eric, have you seen yourself? You're pretty monstrous looking. Look at that beard. Look at that jawline. For those of you who don't get the joke, I'm blind. I have no idea what this man looks like. I just go based off his voice. But nevertheless, hey, there are some people that think you're a monster, but, we don't talk about them. Or do we? No, if you want the perfect example of why the diversity hire stuff doesn't work, look at the anime Summertime Rendering and its dub. There are some people in that dub that genuinely do the LNR thing. I never heard the LNR thing before I watched Summertime Rendering. Another anime which I don't recommend, but it's called D3 DJ Force Mix or something like that, where they got the Seiyu to play the English voice actresses, or to play the English character as well. Like, the Seiyu voiced both in the English and the dub for the sub for the main character. And they did the L's and R's things. It's like, that's cool, I guess, to get the Seiyu to play the English dub as well, but L's and R's, bro. I don't want to have to say, get to the... You're breaking the grass! Are you saying the glass or the grass? I don't, what?
Yeah, is her name Eileen or Eileen? No, that was a thing too. With I noticed even a number of directors that I worked with. Some of them wanted you to be rhotic, some of them didn't, and some of them, if it came to a names like Yoriichi or Yoruichi, they would have you roll the R. Some would say no, it's Yoruichi. Okay, fine. And it kind of came down to each director's preferences. But then you would have an instance where you mispronounce somebody's name, and then they go to do the actual DVD release, and then they have to redub over all those pronunciations of that person's name. So you have the person who's doing the editing for the DVD just sitting inside a booth, and one after another, it's like a cattle call. They're just having actor after actor after actor come in and just fix these few instances where they said the name either non-rhotically or rhotically. So I wish that there was a consensus that they would have gotten together in the beginning and said, hey, this is the way it's going to be, stock across the board. Let's not try and complicate this any further. Just have them do them rhotic or have them not. That way we can avoid this mess just before a DVD release.
Did you ever watch Naruto at all back in the day?
I did. I watched up to... when I didn't watch a crazy ton of it. I watched up to when they enter the forest and they're inside like the ninja training. It's just before that one kid ends up getting his arms blown off inside the when they're going one-on-one against each other by that kid who has the bug abilities.
Oh, okay, I know who you're talking about. Okay, I know exactly. Okay, good. So you have an idea. All right. So I recently met the voice actor of Sasuke at a convention, and we got the talking about this. This is ironic that you mentioned the L's and the rolling of the R, because I asked him, I was like, "Are you Japanese? Are you of any Asian descent? Is that something like what was the thought process for that?" And he goes, "Well, I lived in Japan for so long that I kind of adopted it." And what he told me was that the directors were like, "Yeah, no, you act well enough. You act good. We're not going to just because you roll the R's or tap the R's doesn't mean that we're not going to continue to work with you or we're not going to give you this role. You act well. You just say Naruto instead of Naruto like everybody else."
Yeah, and like that's the appropriate response to something like that. That's 100% the appropriate response because they're at least allowing the person then to be an actor. Like, looking at my career in voice acting, because I mean it's pretty much restricted to voice acting. Like I couldn't go on screen, and even though I could black my face up and put on the voice and sound pretty convincing as a black man, I'm not going to go on screen and play a black man. But voice acting is that one arena where if you are a vocal chameleon, like myself, not to toot my own horn, but if you are a vocal chameleon, you can go on there and you can play any role, any ethnicity that is within your purview to do. It's probably going to take you a while and quite a bit of practice to get to that believable place, because I remember when I was working on accents, every single day I'd do around an hour's worth of time on an accent. I'd work that accent for 2 weeks and then I'd change to a different one, and then I'd work that one for 2 weeks to go to a different one, and then once I had after about a month's time, I would go back in rotation to where I was. So I'd mastered like 8 or 9 different accents over the course of probably 2 years. And then I would, every single week, after I mastered those 8 or 9 that were constantly coming up in roles that I was doing, whether it was in audiobooks or in anime, then I would go back through, and of those 8 or 9 that I was working on, I would do one for 1 week, and then I would do one for the next week, and then one for the next week after that. And I would just keep myself sharp and fresh. But I was very privileged in that when I had roles that I went out for, sometimes within a single book, I might have to play 3 or 4 different ethnicities within that book. There was one book I did where I had to play 9 different accented roles within it. And it was awesome because I didn't have to sit here and have an ensemble cast of people attached to this book just to play this one character. I got to do them all myself. But it was up to me to make my voice sound like where that person was from. And I got to do this crazy thing that people have never heard of, and that's called acting.
Oh my gosh, I had words for you, but then I immediately lost them. Dang you, brain. Acting and stuff. No, okay, there we go. That's where I was going with that. No, that's again, like, it just goes back to the whole thing of I'm already got some physical disabilities of my own that help me or that hinder me from voice acting that I really wanted to do, but now because I'm not the right race or whatever, then I'm not, or I think the wrong way, I'm not going to be allowed.
It really is. It's more indicative of the spirit that is behind entertainment. Is like, let's call it what it is. Entertainment is very, very left. Always has been,
Yeah.
always is going to be. And it's very, very emotionally driven. And historically, entertainers have been used to carry water for political agendas. Political agendas that they don't even understand. Like, I remember hearing some crazy loon out there. I can't even remember what her name was because she was so forgettable. But she was on talk shows going on and on about saving the planet and talking about how whenever we go and use the bathroom, we should all only ever use one toilet paper square. Okay, I don't know if you've ever eaten at a PF Chang's, but after doing that, you don't get to use one toilet paper square. You better use several sections about the length of your leg to handle that mess afterwards. But this person goes out and just starts barking this stuff out there because somebody told them when they were like 22, 23 years old, and they just finally landed and they were somebody out there inside the public eye, that they were perfect as they were and they should never change. And so they just went on permanently stuck as a 22-year-old up into their 60s. And because everything there is so left-leaning and so emotionally driven, they were completely stunted, and then they just spit that garbage out to everybody else. And by the same token, with the left-leaning nature of entertainment and politics, it is so hostile to those with conservative viewpoints and those who believe in maintaining the sanctity of a role, or maintaining and when I say sanctity of a role, maintaining the right to let somebody who is best suited to play said role go out for that role, and not trying to win some sort of social justice platforming scheme by saying we're only going to accept people who have this skin color. Um, I ran into it all the time when, unfortunately, when I was at Funimation. I couldn't actually even have an honest conversation there and talk about things that really meant something to me for fear of reprisal or fear that I would get blacklisted. And big surprise, that's exactly what happened to me over there, because it is so hostile to conservatives, so hostile to Christians. I mean, unless you're already pre-established, somebody like Chris Pratt, where you're almost too big to fail, in the sense that if you're only looking at somebody's acting ability and what they bring to the table performance-wise, he's too big to fail in that regard. Now, God forbid he gets caught diddling kids or beating on his wife, then yes, you can fail and cancel the guy. But because he was already pre-established, he still gets to book roles, and he still gets to have all this fun inside Hollywood. But he knows full well that that entire arena is super hostile to him.
Yeah, it actually pays to have some friends in high places. That's the
Oh,
speculation
you
in
ain't
my
kidding.
opinion. In my opinion, that's the only reason I think Wendy Lee's able to continue, because she just directed the new Toriyama English dub for Sandland, the anime slash video game that Toriyama helped worked on, like one of the last things he worked on before he died. So, and
Wow.
that, yeah, so Wendy Lee getting that spot, if she were truly canceled, there's no way in hell she would have got that spot. So it's because of her clout and the fact that she is she's got accolades. Like, she's, if I'm not mistaken, in the Book of World Records. Like, she's got genuine accolades, and she's probably got some friends in Japan. Also, she was Faye
Oh, I'm
Valentine in Cowboy
sure.
Bebop. I mean, come on now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for real. Like, she has a legacy behind her. And like, I remember seeing auditions come across my desk where they even asked me, specifically, like, hey, look, if you're not of this ethnicity, we encourage you not to go out for this role. A lot of times they didn't say flat out, don't go out for this role, but they would say, we encourage you, or those of this ethnicity, to specifically audition for this role here. They would accept oftentimes auditions from other people, and it was refreshing. On occasion, I would have a director that would send out an audition, and they would say inside there, "I do not care what they would write words to this effect. I do not care what your skin color is. All I care about is if you can competently do this role and do it believably, whatever the ethnicity is." So I welcome all submissions, and that was so refreshing.
And I hope those people are still working there to this day.
They are, as far as I know.
Good,
As
good.
far as I know, there's a few. I gotta say, like, despite that, the enormity of that world being very left leaning, there are a few undercover ones over there, if I could put it that way. That they do have some scruples, and they are in higher up positions, and they do have the ability to make or break a person, and they handle the job of being either a director or a casting director or an engineer very well, in that they try and keep the art about the art and not about some kind of political agenda. And I really wish that more of those people were a bit more outspoken, because I think that it would give people like yourself and even like me, before I more or less made the decision to really not pursue acting in the capacity that I was even a year and a half ago. It would give people like you and myself more hope that we can be our authentic selves and not worry about having everything ripped away from us, or be our authentic selves and not have to stay tight-lipped about every single conversation that we have. Like, I won't lie to you, when I was at Funimation, a lot of times it was hard for me to even talk to people, because the things that were getting talked about 100% of the time were political in nature, or it was something having to do with the LGBT community, or it was something having to do with entertainment, which ended up devolving into a political conversation, or something having to do with the LGBT. And so when I was there, I had to keep almost all my conversations at a very, very surface level. Very, very surface. Like something along the lines of, "Hey, how are you doing? Did you have a great weekend?" "Yes, I did. Went to the movies." "Awesome. What movie did you see?" "I saw a movie. I saw a movie." "Never you mind what movie I saw, because maybe you'll judge me for having gone out to see Dunkirk."
I don't know what that movie is, but sure.
It's
But no, I get
a
what I
story within
know.
World War II.
Okay, I see. Them Azons, if you will. It's an anagram. Flip it around. AZIN, Azons, if you will. But no, I could see that. I could definitely see that. And honestly, for a long time, when it gets to a point where, and I've been like this as well, where if it becomes nothing, the conversation, it just becomes a negative environment, whether you agree with what they're saying or whether you disagree. Just politics make things a little bit more depressing. And stuff like that
Oh,
just makes
dude, it
things a little bit more
does.
depressing.
It does, because, like, everybody can complain. It's easy to complain. But what I'm interested in are solutions. Like, okay, well, sure. Tell me about a problem that you see in the world. But in your next breath, if you're going to denigrate some person or drum up some issue, you better be telling me what the solution to that is, and then be damn well prepared to stand up, walk out your front door right now, and go make some strides to solve that issue. Because talk is cheap, and so much of the entertainment world, people work in complaining and profanity, like Rembrandt would work in oils, or like Chopin would work in tickling the ivories. It's really unfortunate.
Did you say ivories?
The ivories.
Well, I'm not. Is that like the ivory? I'm not familiar.
Tickling the ivories is a term of a pianist, somebody who plays the piano, one who tickles the ivories.
Oh, I've never heard it like that before. All right, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Spinning bird kick.
Yeah, but like, I mean, like, big roundabout way, like this whole diet. I guess to put the finest point on it possible is, if you want to see success as a purveyor of, we'll just call it an animated content. You know, like put yourself in the role of Sony or Funimation or Crunchyroll or Bang Zoom or Sentai. If you want to have success as one of these entities that produces this kind of content, the best way to go about that 100% of every single time is to say, hey, when it comes to casting, directing, script adaptation, mix engineering, we want the best person for those roles, and that's it. If you just make that the one stipulation, you can't help but win. And if somebody is going to go on out there because somebody told them that they should be offended about this and try and raise hell that, oh, well, the person voicing that black actor or that black character is not black, then those companies that are the purveyors of this media should tell that person to go pound sand and say, okay, fine, then don't watch the show. Okay, if you're going to have this issue about it, don't watch the show. We clearly didn't make it for you. And then they can carry on. Sony could do that today. Crunchy could do that today, and I guarantee you, they would have millions more people subscribe to their services overnight as a direct result of them essentially giving the middle finger to people that want to try and censor them and tell them how they're supposed to carry on producing this content.
Yeah, censorship is of the birds. It should go away. I hate censorship.
Well, it's not even so much censorship. It's about them choosing to check the boxes of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and rob an otherwise talented individual of the opportunity to do the job that they are most suited to do, in lieu of filling their quota of, we gotta get one black, I gotta get one Indian, I gotta get one Asian, I gotta get one Polynesian, I gotta get one Czechoslovakian. That way, the thought police won't come for me.
Yeah, we also might want to add an addendum to the, just be good at what you do. Also, don't be a criminal.
Yeah, like, oh man. The number of people that have come out of Funimation specifically that end up getting done for child pornography or for soliciting minors, that was pretty shocking to me.
Yeah, I could count at least 5. That is, yeah, that's pretty, yeah, and some of them still work there, the sad part. Or they did work there at the time of them getting outed as those people. I mean, some of them didn't, some of them just got straight up arrested.
Dude, right? But, like, here's the crazy thing on top of that, too, is, okay, well, we've made it known that we want diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we're all about the whole Me Too movement, and we're all about no means no, and standing up for women. But yet, when you have people that are verified, there's receipts of all this nefarious ongoing, whether it's by word or deed, as long as that person was somebody that had some modicum of, I guess, gravitas to their fame within a certain arena like Dragon Ball Z or Full Metal Alchemist, and that person continues to say all the right things that the company likes to throw their weight behind, then they're like, oh yeah, we'll just overlook all this heinous stuff that you've done and said and just keep putting you in shows. We'll be really quiet about it. Maybe don't announce your roles and we'll just keep putting you in the credits.
Or lay low as possibly as you can and don't say anything on Twitter. Even pretend that you're going to go away for a little bit because of, quote, death threats. Speaking of women, are you familiar with Sweet Baby Inc. and what they're doing?
Sweet Baby Inc. The name is familiar, but I don't know if I am.
So they're the wokeifiers of video games, more or less.
Are these the ones that are trying to avert the male gaze by manishing up all the female characters? Like, aren't they the ones that now are doing Tomb Raider?
I don't know if they specifically did Tomb Raider, but I know they worked on. I know they worked on games like Final Fantasy VII, and they worked on other games as well. I think they might have worked on. If they did work on Tomb Raider, I'm not 100% sure, because I got the cliff notes of what the Sweet Baby Ink is, and pretty much what it is like, yeah, they're trying to make less attractive women. They worked on Spider-Man 2. That's the game they worked on, was Spider-Man 2. There's also another one called Black Girl Gamers.
I saw that. I did see that this last week.
Yeah, can we just make video games fun? Like, legit, I just want a fun video game. That's all I want.
Dude,
I don't want...
entertainment has become such a hassle to try and even entertain yourself now. Like, that was the whole point of it, was this is an escape from your mundane, everyday life. This is for you to just kick back and enjoy something mindless. Or if you like Stanley Kubrick films, something that might snap your brain in half. But so long as you are entertained. And, like, the entire reason why you pull up a video game is you're for however long you're playing, is you're momentarily living as somebody else while you play this game. You're having to make these in-the-moment decisions, especially if you're playing a game where there are a number of different world paths you can take, like Mass Effect. You're having to make decisions that affect not just that game, but then the next 2 or 3 games. It's like, but this is all meant to be entertainment. This is all meant to be fun. This is your escape. But they keep ramming this crap in your throat. So, like, why can't somebody play a Street Fighter fighting game with these voluptuous, scantily clad women kicking the crap out of each other and just enjoy the whimsy that is this completely unrealistic world? Like, why can't somebody just enjoy that and say, yeah, I know that these gals do not exist anywhere, but this is fun for the time because I can do a helicopter kick in the air, and if I time my combos just right, I'd never have to touch the ground. I can finish this person off with a few jump cancels. 256 moves later, I've got a perfect score on this dude. Like, why can't we just enjoy entertainment? Why does everything have to be through this political lens?
Okay, I'm gonna answer what you're just saying. I'm gonna continue with that thought, but it's ironic you say Street Fighter because that's the game I have on in the background, and Chun-Li is one of the characters, and I just did a freaking spinning bird kick as you were saying that. And for once, the freaking visuals match the audio. Yes!
Yes, we didn't even plan that, folks. Totally organic.
Yes, 100% organic. That just happened. That was great. Which Chun-Li is one of the sexiest women in all video game. Fight me. But nevertheless, I mean, that ass though from Cammy. But, speaking of ass, Stellar Blade, everybody should buy it, because have you seen that ass? I haven't, but I hear it's quite voluptuous. And it's just, that's what, that's one of the things, like, you mentioned the whole, why can't I enjoy voluptuous women? They may not be realistic, or they may be realistic, who cares? It's just a fun game. Stellar Blade is the entirety of that. It's, okay, we have this curvaceous, voluptuous woman, which points added to you, you got a real-life woman to be the model for this character. So you can't say they don't exist because there's an actual woman. Yes, she is the 0.001%, yes, but she's still a real-life woman. She still exists. And they made her sexy in the game. They focused on the butt because, and I quote, when people are playing the game, they focus on the backside. So we make that as the best part of the body. And it's a freaking hacks and slash game. And it's just fun from what again, it's not out yet as of this time now. It's not fully out. But again, it's just a fun hack and slash game with sexy women. That's all you need. Fun and sexy. That's all it really needs.
Yeah, well, like, with games like that, especially when it's a third person, you have to do super detail on the backside of the person, because that's all the character, or that's all the players are typically seeing anytime they're doing a walk. Now, if it's a hack and slash where where they'll do almost like that reverse vignette where it'll back out a little ways away from you so you can see more of the area that you're fighting in. Like they did that for God of War, they did that for Dante's Inferno. They do it for a lot of hack and slash games. Like, then you get to see the character's front and their side and their profile, and you get to see more vertices of them, if you will, because we still have polygons. But no, like, to your point, give people their entertainment, give them their escape back. Because like, I get crazy when I see companies will put out this. Like, they're doing it now in Call of Duty. when you go to play online, you typically don't get to see the initial little card that would pop up saying online interaction is not rated by ESRB. And what that told you is, hey, you may go on here and someone may say some mean shit to you, okay? Like, that's just the way it's going to be. But that's the price that you pay if you want to play this game online. If you don't like it, block or mute the person. Just do that. Now they go on there and they say something amalgamating. We're really trying to be a very inclusive type of gaming experience here. We want to make it known that harassment or meanness of any kind will not be tolerated. If you are reported, we will decide how we want to handle you on an individual case-by-case basis, and we may or may not ban your account permanently from this game and future games. Like, they're saying that to gamers now. They're saying that to gamers, knowing full well that people, they get a little bit enraged sometime when they've lost 8 games in a row and they just want to throw their controller across the room.
Or the fact that majority of the people on that game base is 12 to 13-year-olds.
Dude, and what makes it even crazier is they'll say things like, we want to be inclusive, and we don't want to be derogatory, and we don't want to be mean to people, and we don't want to have any kind of ill will or malcontent towards our fellow man whatsoever. But yet, the entirety of the online experience of that game is you shooting to death other players, or cleaving them in two with a sword, or you blowing them up into chunks. Like, you guys realize that the entire goal of this attrition match I'm playing is to kill everybody else on screen. I guess we won't speak to the violence then, because if we really wanted to take that full final step, social justice leap forward, we would just be throwing Nerf balls at each other. Nerf balls full of paint. And if you got covered head to toe in paint, well, I guess you were considered the loser of that match. God forbid, though, you tell somebody who their mom is sleeping with over an online gaming session.
You were alive when it was the biggest thing, though, when it came to that kind of stuff, like the censorship of video games, or the video games, because you were around when a certain, let's just say, bind of Colin, if we will, happened. Mm-hmm. You were around when that happened, and the whole video game thing really, that whole like, oh, well, video games make people angry and violent. You were around during that time, so you saw this generation's version and the previous generation's version.
Dude, I did, man. I did. And what was super wild about that is, and this has been disproven, because they've done studies on this, clinical and otherwise, where they'll show somebody a movie where there's some awesome action hero and he's got guns ablazing, he's just popping bad guys on the head, boom, boom, boom. He's racking up a body count. And the person sitting there watching that film, their heart rate doesn't really spike. It doesn't do much of anything. They're just entertained by this because they know that it is not real. They know that this is designed to just entertain them. They know that it's a fake thing. But then they'll show that same person footage of somebody being executed, like gas chamber or lethal injection. Or they'll show that person an actual snuff film. It could be a CCTV camera of the inside of a convenience store where somebody there is manning the front desk. Someone walks in with a gun and just boom, blows their brains clear out the back of their head. And then they record the person's reaction and their heart rate just spikes off the chart. Because they know that, wow, that is real and that is awful, and I don't ever want to see that or ever commit that act or have that act committed against me. We know the difference. We know the difference between fake and reality. And whether people want to tell themselves that they do or don't, their body will not lie to them. When it comes to seeing something that they know is real versus seeing something that they know is not.
It's so odd to me that the fact that in America we can show them the equivalent of, we have GTA, more or less, and yet a thing like Dead or Alive or Cinemax is considered 18 plus or something like that, where you could show violence galore, but show a nipple, ho.
Dude, you're not wrong. Like, if you go to Spain, and this is so interesting, or you go over even into like the UK, the TV standards there are almost reverse of what we have. Like, over in Spain, not a whole lot of violence. Like, really, really not a whole lot of violence. But, like, porn just about on every single show that you watch over there. For the UK, they really can't hardly, last I checked, they really can't hardly even show blood or viscera of any kind. Like, violence has to be really, really specific and has to almost be implied on their shows, but they can show plenty of sex if they want to. Here in the States, though, like you said, God forbid we flash a nipple, but we can show you all the violence in the world. All the violence.
Yeah, and it's and if you think about it, and I don't know when it happened, obviously not in our lifetimes because we had already been accustomed to it, but when did it become a big deal for, like, nudity to be such a bad thing? Like, nudity in and of itself, it's like the whole concept of we took something that was pure and we corrupted it. Why? I don't know. Maybe that's just my weird mindset of thinking that nudity isn't inherently sexual, or maybe it's because I'm blind. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you do have a point. I mean, if you want to go back to the Bible itself, when Adam and Eve were created by the good Lord above, they were both naked, and there wasn't an issue. There wasn't an issue about it whatsoever. I mean, we're born naked. You look at the Renaissance painters. You look at the tasteful nudes that they do. You look at the Sistine Chapel, for crying out loud. There's definitely a difference between a tastefully nude photo or painting versus something that is pornographic, something that is meant to elicit this lurid feeling within a person. And I think the issue for a lot of TV stations and news outlets, because news outlets, I used to work for one doing editorial comics back in college, and they were allowed to, if they wanted to, show nudity inside their pages, but they chose not to a lot of times. But they had that right to do so without incurring any kind of penalty or fee. And a lot of news stations have that ability as well. It just depends on what network that they go to sometimes. Like when I worked on the show Playboy Club, the actors and actresses on there had to sign nudity clauses. Now, on NBC, they didn't show any kind of nudity, but they were likely going to try and shop this show out to HBO or to Cinemax at some point. All that being said, when it comes to seeing a tasteful nude and being able to appreciate the art that is there behind it, whether it's on the Sistine Chapel or it's a photograph taken of a mother with child, there's a world of difference between that and then showing something that is meant to sexually arouse. And they've actually found now through clinical studies that the effects of consuming pornography on the brain has almost identical brain-harming effects as somebody who is doing heroin on the regular.
As somebody who's never done heroin on the regular, that checks out. I mean, I don't know how damaging it compared to heroin, because again, I've never done heroin, but no, it definitely it destabilizes you. I'm not saying outlaw it, obviously, because that'd be dumb. There's no point of outlawing it, because no matter what, you're going to get people to get a hold of it, and just nobody should be going to jail for porn ever, unless it's children. But I was going somewhere with this. I swear I was. It does definitely mess with the brain. Maybe that's why my brain's so messed up right now.
Well, and like with that, you look at some art that exists from way back. Like, likely the earliest sculpted figure that, to my knowledge, that we have, that we know of, likely like the earliest created sculpture is this little sculpture called the Venus of Willendorf. And it is this gal who looks like she has a pineapple for a head, and she real thick with humongous breasts and a very large rear end. And she's just standing there with both of her hands over the top of her breasts, like almost like resting them like a shelf. And this was one of these like weird fertility goddess occult decoration oddities of the time. But this goes back, I mean, we're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So it like you were saying, it's not a new thing that that pornography has been shopped to the masses like it is nowadays. We had over the lockdowns Pornhub giving out free subscriptions to their website just because everybody was stuck at home and bored. Which, I mean, if you decided that was your time to start jumping into it, then I gotta say, shame on the person, because God help your poor brain and ED, because that's a very real thing. Um, but
Yes, it
even
is. Yes, it is. Oh my, fellas. I'm not gonna go into detail, but he's not wrong. He's not
it's
wrong.
crazy. It's crazy. Like there's actually been studies done in the last 5 to 10 years. Actually, I'd say 5 to 6 years, taking sampling of our college population, and so many people now suffer from that erectile dysfunction because they are so inundated with pornography. Like you can, in a 20-minute span of time, not even 20 minutes, you can in a 10-minute span of time view more gorgeous naked men or women in that 10-minute span than anybody born before the age of internet would have been able to see in their entire lifetime. You can view that in a 10-minute span of time. And like, think of what that does to your brain. Like, that's, I'm tying this all into to entertainment and what's real versus what's not real. That puts within inside somebody's brain this unrealistic expectation of what sex is and what it could be. And so then when they're actually intimate with a partner, they have all these preconceived notions as to how it's going to be. And it ends up falling flat for them. Or their standards are so high because everybody that they've seen online who is down on all fours is a perfect 10 bodily, with this complete darkened soul on the inside. And so that's all they're looking for. Oh, she's got to have this hip to waist ratio. She's got to have this size bust. She's got to have this size butt. She's got to have these measurements. She's got to look like this person here. And then all their relationships and all their could be relationships suffer as a result of that. But at the same time, a lot of them aren't quick to realize that is unreality. Versus when you're, again, playing a video game, you know full well just the action of turning on the game itself, the action of hooking up your controller, the action of getting comfy with your bag of Doritos and your bottle of Mountain Dew and tucking in to enjoy the entertainment. You know full well that's the purpose you're there. I am here to entertain myself. I'm here to play this game in a world that is not my own, with a character that I am not attached to except by the fact that I can make them move with my thumbs or my trigger fingers. And I know that this is a place of unreality. It is a temporary escape for the time being. And then the juxtaposition of that up against what reality is, to harken back to what I mentioned before about somebody seeing someone die in a movie versus die in real life. You know the difference there. And it's such a stark difference.
And then, and again, as somebody who's watched both the real and the audio form and the Schmentai form, they all have different expectancies. I mean, the audio form is just audio. I don't know. Again, to each their own. But as somebody who has consumed a quite amount of quantity over the last 12 plus years, I want to say 14, maybe 15 years. Yeah, no, it could mess you up really bad. It messes you up really bad. It also, the people that have the mindset of, oh, I was diddled as a child and it didn't hurt me. That kind of stuff does mess with a child's mind. It messes with people's mind. Oh, oh yeah, the nice. Yeah, you got to sleep with his 30-year-old teacher and he was 13. That stuff, it's one of those things, it's cool in the moment, but you don't understand what problems that kid could have.
Oh, yeah. Well, you look at the Nickelodeon kids growing up now, and all these heinous stories are coming out about, like, Josh Peck and Drake and even Amanda Bynes, and the stuff that these kids had inflicted upon them. Like, yeah, that'll shatter a fragile psyche. That'll absolutely shatter it. Then the effects of that, the ripples, we don't even know how far out those reach, because what do they say? Hurt people hurt people. It just ends up being this cyclical ball of abuse. And you know, to tie this back in to our initial startup here, when we were talking about Sony's decision to try and make this diversity, equity, and inclusion quota when it comes to booking roles for their shows, that whole world is gripped in the talons of that kind of nefarious activity. It's amazing to me in a very profoundly sad sense just how oversexed the entertainment industry is. Like, I working on set in Chicago, hearing some of the people around me, even some of the people that were just extras like I was at the time. This is very, very early on in my acting career. Hearing the way that they spoke, just the lascivious nature of what they were saying, watching the way that certain actors carried themselves on set when the camera wasn't rolling, it was utterly shameful. Utterly shameful. And I know that stuff like that goes on behind closed doors on the corporate executive level, all the way on down to the menial directors of animation and anime. Like, I've been privy to conversations even over at Funimation, but I stand back and I'm like, wow, how is this person even still working here? This is gross. This is wrong on so many levels.
And it goes beyond the locker room talk of just guys being guys as well, because I know you're not the type of person that would shy away from locker room water cooler talk.
There was a time of you do a whole lot of growing up when you decide that you refuse to fall for anything and you have to stand for something, and you put away those childish things. And like, for me, I have an eidetic memory, so I can't forget anything. And you couple that with OCD tendencies, and sometimes I can find myself reliving a memory from the past. And like a soldier will say when they get back from tour, it's not the things that they were ordered to do that haunt them, it's the things that they weren't ordered to do that they did anyway that haunt them. And I might relive an embarrassing moment, or I might relive a painful moment where it was a choice that I made that maybe hurt somebody's feelings, or hurt them in the moment, or hurt myself in the moment. And I'll end up reliving that, and I still feel that same shame and that same pain. I know that that's already been dealt with. I know that Christ died for those sins, and that they have no bearing on my life anymore. But you end up looking back at those moments when you decide, okay, I'm putting away the childish things. I'm no longer going to tangle in that arena. And you recognize that the person you used to be was incredibly, incredibly weak. And when you decide, okay, well, I'm going to, from here on out, work tooth and nail every single day to grow stronger in my convictions, stronger mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, it's going to be a tough road for sure. But wow, do you come a long way in a short amount of time when you've decided that that's going to be your focus. Even if you're just doing 1% better every single day in 6 months, holy crap, have you made some headway.
Growth is important. That's what I got from that. That growth is important. That's what I got.
No, I mean that's pretty much it. That is pretty much it. Like, never stop growing, I guess is the easiest way to say it. Or if you want to quote I think Hemingway said this. I think it was Hemingway. True nobility is not being superior to your fellow man. True nobility is being superior to your former self.
And this is why you come to the Otaku Paradise, because you never know what you're going to get. You might get an Ernest Hemingway quote. So I wanted to bring this up, and I wish I would have had more time to actually prepare this, because I wanted you to read over the document so you can get, more of an idea. But have you heard anything? And this has been in the news, even the big news for about a little bit. But have you heard about the Vince McMahon allegations at all?
Say that again.
Vince McMahon. Yes, he has allegations against him, bad trafficking variety of the. Yeah, I didn't know if I mean, it's one of those things where if you're not involved in the world, maybe you catch it on the news or something like that. But that's why I wanted to send you the documentation so you could get an actual opinion. Because if I just say, well, he was accused by some chick that he used to he hired just so he could keep it, just because he wanted to, because he was sleeping with her. It was one of those things where it might be it seems as though it could be one of two things. It could be, yeah, he's an evil person that did all these things, or it could be, yeah, she's an evil person who's, maybe these things did happen, but maybe also she's just trying to get her money. Because, one of the headlines of the articles was, Vince McMahon paid, paralegal $1 million after defecating on her head.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and again, it could be, yeah, he did defecate on her head, but she was into it, or, no, he never did that, what's wrong with you, or, yeah, he totally did that and he's a monster. It's one of those three things, and I wanted to give you the actual, like, there's a litigation, it's been going on, you find out new things it's the Vic Mignogna situation, except way worse because none of the women Vic was accused by ever accused him of ever sexually assaulting them. Or trafficking them. And it's one of those situations where if it's true, then holy crap, why are you seeking civil litigation? Why don't you go put him in jail? Because
yeah, no, for real.
If I was getting trafficked and an 80-year-old man pooped on my head, I don't think I'd be looking, and obviously in an unconsensual manner that I wasn't expecting. I mean, if I'm working with older people, you may get some poop on you. But nevertheless, I mean, hey, you're working with an 80-year-old. Hey, come here, Mr. Jensen. But no, this, it seems just based on the headlines and based on what the camp of she's providing, the stuff she's providing, which these aren't anime people. This isn't Vic Mignogna versus Monica Rao. These are entities that one is the head, at one point was the head of a mogul, multi-billion-dollar empire, and the other one is, and the other one was making millions of dollars with this person. So these aren't little entities. But yeah, I didn't get a chance to send you the article, or I would have, because it's an interesting read. It could be a lawsuit. It could not be a lawsuit. If it's real, it's terrible. If it's easily debunkable with the fact that why did she go to the police if this was the case? If I was in that situation where I was getting held against my will, locked in rooms, pooped on my head, getting forced into three-ways, and etc., I would not be looking for $1 million. I'd be looking for 1,000,000 years in jail from the accused.
Oh yeah, no, I'd be looking for straight retribution. I mean, in as swift a fashion as possible. Gosh, and I'm one where I hear something like that, something crazy like that, and I like to sit on it and let it percolate and see what else turns up in the coming weeks. Because so many people, they're going to be so quick to jump all over it.
Oh, 100%.
And start hanging this person. Like they're going to hang him at the court of public opinion. Like we did watch that happen with Vic. We watched that happen with Kavanaugh when he was being grilled for being a Supreme Court justice. Like, you had people assigning certain things to entry inside his Tatler. That somebody wrote the F word out with 5 Fs, and they were like, oh yeah, this is an acronym for this, and this. And just filling in the blanks, just coming up with their own ideas as to what this guy's life looked like. Just crazy. And before the corpse was even dead, you had people already saying, well, this is clearly who he is. We don't need to hear any more testimony. We don't need to hear any more questions. Tiger can't change his stripes. So let's just go ahead and forget that he's even trying to become a Supreme Court justice, and let's just move into the next candidate. You had people doing that, and there was still like 3 days left of talking and grilling to be done.
Yeah, I remember that. That was weird to me. I thought that was weird even when I was like... how long ago was that? That was like, what, 15 years ago or something like that? Or...
no, that was within the last...
It was during...
like 6-7 years.
Yeah, okay, that's why. I was like, I remember being somewhat of a cognitive adult during that time.
Well, I know that Trump was in office.
Yeah, that's why I was. Yeah, that's why I was like, it's got to be within the next between 6 and 8 years, give or take, or 4 or 6 years. I mean, uh, but man, yeah, like everything that's happening that I've witnessed with the video games, the anime being attacked, our hobbies are under attack, and as you've seen in the fan creations, man, fan creations go a long way, and they're also. I wish that somebody, because this is always the mentality of everybody that is the guy that agrees with the canceled person. It's if only I had the money that these studios had. Any time that this would happen to me, I would give the proverbial middle finger, because why should I care about what you have to say? You're not funding my product, so go away, non-consumer. But it never happens like that. You never have the guy or the girl, which normally it's never the girl, but you never have the guy that goes, yeah, F you. Yeah, you don't like it? Don't buy it. Cool. Yeah. You don't like it? Go away. You're not my consumer. Like a go-into guy back with Devilman happened. He said, F you, I'm doing what I want. You don't like it, I don't care. And then his anime is synonymous with, well, legendary anime.
Mm-hmm. No, like for so much the craziness out there, where people will bring up some railing accusation against somebody. All they have to do is say, yeah, no, this never happened. This person is crazy, and I reject and disavow all that's being said here. Goodbye. And then not entertaining it anymore. Like I think Michael Douglas, I believe, had somebody who's married to Catherine Zeta-Jones. Michael Douglas?
I don't know any of these names you are mentioning, but I'm gonna keep on nodding and smiling and waving like a good penguin.
Oh, hold on, I gotta look this up. I think it's Michael Douglas. Yeah, Michael Douglas. So, if I remember correctly, somebody came out of the woodwork a few years ago, and this is during the whole real first big push of the Me Too movement, and was talking about how, oh well, Michael Douglas sexually abused me, and or assaulted or raped me, and it was back during this time on such and such a film set or wherever it happened to be, and he pretty much came out and was just like, you know, this never happened. I don't know who this person is, and I'm not going to entertain this, and it just shut it all down. Like that was it. Like that's what people have to do in these instances, and like I hope Vince McMahon didn't take a deuce on somebody's head and then try and pay them off. That's pretty weird.
That kind of was. I'm sorry to cut you off. That was rude of me. Please finish your statement. I apologize.
No, you're good. I was gonna say is I hope he didn't do that. You know, especially if it was an unwanted thing. I mean, people do whatever they're gonna do in the confines of whatever bedroom or hotel room they have rented out for the night. You know, I would hope that consenting adults would know where their own lines are. But you know, if somebody's just raw about having had a scatological issue with a guy who owned wrestling or owns wrestling, and this is now however many years since that event, then you know, I want for them to provide the evidence, yes, instead of just say, oh well, this happened and believe.
Yeah, and it's one of those things as well that it started off with, oh, it's embezzlement. Well, yeah, that's a douche thing. Of course, you shouldn't embezzle your company's money. Yes, you should be removed. Then it started to, oh, well, it was NDA money. There was multiple NDAs, and he didn't pay me my NDA money, and we were boinking, and then oh well, it just seems like there's so many things that are. There's too many variables, and I will send you the article just to get your opinion later down the road, but it's wild, because things like he would name his dildos after wrestlers, the black ones after the black wrestlers, the white ones after the white wrestlers, stuff like that. Crazy, like you would not expect this to be real, but if you know Vince McMahon at all, he's eccentric as all get out, and you kind of can't believe that he would name his dildos after his wrestlers.
Jeez. Gosh.
because
Ugh.
he's a strange individual. He's a strange individual, but besides, you're a strange individual as well. What have you been doing with your life besides not birthing babies, but helping raise children and helping conceive children? You don't have to talk about the conception of the children. I mean, obviously we don't need to talk about that. That's a $5.99 subscription, folks. But no,
Yeah, that's
they
behind the paywall for sure.
yeah, for real, for real. But what have you been up to? What have you been putting your time and effort into, or have you just been busy, working all day and all night?
Definitely have been crazy busy. In addition, I still do the occasional audiobook from time to time. I've really stepped quite a ways back from acting, uh, like I had been. I mean, it was my entire life for, gosh, like 11, 12 years straight. Just I ate, slept, and breathed acting. Um, so I've stepped back quite a ways from that, and I've actually been doing a lot of study and a lot of just work on myself, on my personality, on my faith. I've been doing a lot of more content creation on my YouTube channel, and I think I probably told you, but my YouTube channel is geared towards Christian apologetics, and it's designed to provide people with answers to the really hard questions that face Christianity, like problems of cruelty and suffering. You know, if God is this benevolent Father in the sky and He loves everybody and wants the best for everyone, then why do we have hurricanes that wipe out entire coastlines in Africa? Why do people rape, steal, and kill each other? Um, and it's providing answers to those questions, and not just blow off answers like, oh, well, we live in a sinful world, and next question. No, it's okay, well, let's get into this argument, because it's easy to ask a question, but it's much more difficult to answer a question in earnest. And so I do a lot in that content creation vein, and it's it's definitely niche. Right now I've been working on a series that is covering the tribes of giants that were inside the Bible, because a lot of people's big hang up with the Bible is, oh, well, there's so much violence. And God tells His people when they get to the promised land to kill all these tribes off. And He doesn't just say, I want you to kill the tribes. He says, I want you to kill every man, woman, and child. I want you to burn the livestock. I want you to save only the copper, the bronze, the gold, and the silver vessels. Everything else, devote to destruction. They're like, that sounds like a psychopath. So this is getting into, okay, well, let's find out the why. Why, if in order to even answer the question, you have to labor on under the assumption that God doesn't exist and that whatever's inside the Bible actually happened. So I say, okay, well, given that as a premise that God exists, let's see, why did God deem it necessary for this to actually happen, for His people to go and do this? And so I'll seek out, and however long it takes me, I will find the answers to those questions. And so I've been going through tribes of giants inside the Bible that were the direct offspring of fallen angels and the daughters of men. And these were damned, cursed creatures that weren't supposed to be on the earth, and that was largely why the flood took place, to scrub them off the face of this planet. So I go through, and in searching out all these genealogies and all these family lineages, I'm able to actually give a reason as to why there were certain violent episodes within the Bible. And so that's been consuming a lot of my time. I actually have a podcast episode tomorrow. I'll be on with a gentleman named Timothy Alberino, who has done a lot of study into the giants of old and ancient civilizations and cultures around the world. Goes to Peru, to places like Sacsayhuaman, and sees these giant megalithic structures that couldn't have been built just simply by human hands. We're talking stones that weigh several tons that are picked up and stacked on top of other stones that are cut perfectly, so much so that you can't fit a piece of paper in between the blocks that are right next to each other. Like, it's really amazing. But that's what I've really put my free time focus into. My I guess my vocational focus. I've been working at a Harbor Freight, and I don't know if you've worked retail, or if you ever worked in the service industry or even entertainment. Your schedule is always up in the air, so it's different day to day. So some days you're up at 2 in the morning, or 3 in the morning. Some days you're getting up at 7. Just depends on if you're opening the store, if you're coming in for a closing shift or a mid shift. So yeah, trying to work on myself as much as I possibly can, trying to learn a ton, trying to be the best dad I can, trying to be the best husband I can, and then when I have free time to do so, putting up that content that hopefully draws somebody closer to God.
And if you'd like, even though I don't have that much of a subscriber base, I could put, if you send me the link to the YouTube channel, I could put it in the description of this video when I get finalized with this video.
For
It's
sure,
gonna,
yeah.
it'll be right. This video will go up. It's a VOD because we're live streaming right now, as you can tell if you couldn't tell already. So right when the video is done, all you gotta do is send me the link and I'll add it. I'll also add any other additional plugs you want me to do, or anything link wise you want me to just send it to me, and I'll add it to the description.
Yeah, for sure, definitely can do that.
And as for me, honestly I've been reading books and watching anime. And job hunting, man. It's hard to find a job.
Oh, you ain't kidding, man. You are not kidding. And I know that you've got a bit more of a what's the word? A bit more of I don't want to say hindrance, but you have a bit more of a hill to climb than I do, because you don't have the full control of your site there. So I mean, I can't imagine what that has to be like searching for a job.
Yeah, it's easier to just drive. It's easy just to drive a truck for a living. I can't do that. Not legally anyway, or good, or safely, or without causing anybody harm. You know, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I remember part of the reason behind when we left Texas to move to upstate New York a couple years ago, in the wake of going through two cancellations. The first one over COVID, and the second one over Kyle Rittenhouse.
One more, you get a free Sunday.
Yeah, right. Yeah, get a blackout on my bingo card. But part of the impetus behind getting out of Dodge, literally, and heading up here was that I had applied to a ton of different jobs in the area. I think I sent out between 24 and like 32 resumes. Some of them, I think it was like, it may have been multiple for the same place. It's weird sometimes when you sift through Indeed or Monster, because sometimes there's listings on both places. So it's somewhere between 24 and like 32 job applications, and only heard back from one of them to tell me that I wasn't what they were looking for. But I was blown away because I was out there just about daily, just trying to track down work, and I kept seeing business after business after business with signs in the window saying "now hiring." The KFC up the road from me said "now hiring people who actually show up to work." So I was putting in applications everywhere at these places that said "now hiring, we need people." And I don't know, maybe they had to just have it up in the window because they wanted to stand in solidarity with all those people who really were just hurting for employees. I'm not sure, but they didn't call me.
No, they knew you were canceled. They did a name check.
Right?
They ran your name through the Twitter machines, and they found out, oh, well, he's canceled, can't hire him.
You're right. He's a neurodegenerate.
Oh, yeah, see, he's somebody, yeah, he's a neurodegenerate. He likes balls with his futanari.
This neurodivergent weirdo.
Yeah, what's wrong with these freaking weirdos with their liking them balls on them futanaris? Why, it's like saying slice of life is the garbage anime genre or something. Or being 6 foot tall.
Yeah, right? Which I happen to be 6 foot, almost 6'3".
That was a shot in the dark. I didn't know. I'll never skip the free watch allegations. I swear I never will. What are your plans for after, or for later tonight? What are you, it sounds like I'm asking you out. I swear I'm not!
No, you're good, dude. Probably gonna be helping out the little woman with her newborn feedings and whatnot. But if I do get some time, I am finishing up a paper that I've been working on for close to 5 years now. I've been working on and off on it, and it's almost to the point that it's finished. And once it is, I'll be doing a big YouTube episode on it. I'll be putting that up there,
Oh.
and hopefully it gets me one step closer to being able to do what I love, and that's create and entertain. And if I get to scratch both those itches by talking about things that are meaningful to me, talking about the Bible and being able to engage in that culture war in a meaningful capacity, not to just try and one up the libs or one up lefties, but to actually inspire people to live on purpose, then I'm happy with that. That's what I'm shooting for. So that's probably what I'll be doing tonight. If I can steal away some time, I'm going to finish up that paper. I'm going to get this, which is it's more or less the script for my next podcast episode. So I want to finish up that script for the next podcast episode. That way it's done. I go through a quick spell check, quick continuity check, and then I can set a date to record it.
Okay, so that's pretty much like what you got for your next big YouTube project.
Say that one more time?
I said that's what your big YouTube project's going to be, is that paper that you've been working on for the past 5 years?
It is. It is.
That's awesome, man. I hope things go well for you. And to be fair, you've already created, in a way, just not the way you were thinking of.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
You got two children. They're part of you, man. They are your essence. I think that's the right word. They are They are your offspring. You created that. Which I bet is one of the greatest feelings in the world. You look at them and go, I created this.
Yeah, and it's wild. I mentioned that you sort of reach a point if you decide that you want to just grow, where you sort of kind of put the childish things away. And I can say with all confidence that I had not fully grown up until my son was born, and that made me grow the rest of the way. And now it's fine-tuning who I am and sort of ferreting out those little foxes, whether they be in my psyche or in my habits, that need to go, and getting rid of those things that don't have any place in my life anymore, and then moving on to bigger and better things. And I get that opportunity every single day, even when I'm hanging out with my son. He's 3 years old now, and he's awesome. And I get reminded every single day of what love is. Watching this little person that thinks the world of me. It's almost like, you've probably heard the joke where somebody says, well, you lock a dog in a trunk for an hour and a half, you leave, you come back, you open the hood. You lock your girlfriend in the trunk for an hour and a half, you leave, you come back, you open the hood. Who's going to be appreciating you? Well, the dog's going to be the only one shaking his butt for you. Like, that's sort of the same mindset, at least, that I see in my son, coming from a 3-year-old. Is he thinks the world of me every single day. And I get this awesome experience of actually getting to be a dad and getting to input into his life and getting to help him become a good person. Get to make him a joy for other kids to want to play with, and a joy for adults to have around.
That's a beautiful thing. Being a father, I've never experienced it yet, but I bet it's a mind-blowing experience that will change you and either make you as a person or break you and truly show you how much of a piece of garbage you really are.
Dude, you're not wrong on both accounts. Like, it acquaints you with yourself so quickly, and you're like, ooh, man, I've got some habits or some tendencies, or I'm given to say certain things, and I can't say anymore. Because they're like little yak back machines. They just repeat whatever they hear. Like, oh crap, I can't even hardly mutter something around this kid anymore, because he's gonna just go off and say it. So you really, it makes you take a really introspective look. But it's a good thing. And like you said, it either inspires you to want to do better, or you succumb to listlessness in life, and you just be a garbage human being about it, and then let your kid just be one more of those in the way people clogging up lanes on the freeway.
Or points for some hopeless traveler on the highway.
Yes, yes.
So what is your plans for the future goal? Like you said, you want to create and entertain. Do you want to become a full-time content creator? Is that what the end goal is?
That is, yeah. Actually, main goal is I really do have a love for teaching. I have a love for actually specifically biblical teaching, and history in general. I really, really love the researching. I love being able to explain things to people because I do have a teacher's heart. I know that I have a gift with words, and I can explain something to somebody in a way that it makes sense, and I get to do that through the content creation vehicle that I have, which I have YouTube and Rumble and X now, and Instagram. So I have a lot of options at my fingertips for where I can put my content up. So yeah, that's really what I'm pushing towards. And if I've pretty much, so I do a lot of praying every single day, and I was really bitter for the last couple of years. I was still pretty bitter about how everything shook out in Dallas, Texas. And looking back at it, I realized that even if I hadn't shared a message of hope up on my Facebook page or shared Nick Ricada's link, that my wife and myself would not have been able to continue on voicing and directing anime because Crunchyroll demanded that everybody who came into their studio had to be vaccinated and had to show proof of vaccination. So, one way or the other, God was taking that away from me. And I think the reason why he allowed us to be there in the first place was for being so faithful with the gifts that we had been given, my wife and I. Gift for communication and entertainment, and how well and how long we nurtured those gifts along. Because I've been involved in entertainment since I was 4 years old. So it was a long time coming leading up to that. And so I was still really bitter about that over the last couple of years, and I was still trying to find acting opportunities because I didn't want to let that flame die. And it's tough when you're working a schedule like I am right now, where, like I said, sometimes you're up at 2 in the morning for work, or sometimes you're up at 7, sometimes you're closing the store, sometimes you're doing a mid-shift. It's hard to plan anything, and so you kind of scrap for every little bit of time you get. And I was just spinning my wheels trying to find more acting work and trying to find more entertainment work. And so in prayer one day, I said, well, God, okay, here's the deal. So I am done pursuing this. I'm done pursuing acting in that capacity. So if you want me in a show, or you want me in a video game, or you want me in a movie or a series, well, you just go ahead and bring it to me. But I'm not going to actively pursue this on my own, because I feel like I'm banging my head against the wall. And so now it is very much a focus on the content creation. I had my YouTube channel jump from around 15,000 subscribers last April. It jumped up to, I'm now about to hit 32,000 this year.
Nice.
And yeah, and so I actually was able to make a decent wage last year through ad revenue on several of the videos that I put up. And it was nice seeing that any money that I earn from content production, I want to be a byproduct of just doing what I love so well that it's able to generate some kind of some sort of monetary kickback. But and even beyond that, I want people to take something of value away from the content I provide, because it is largely biblical based. I mean, I go down the rabbit hole on Bigfoot and aliens and stuff like that because it's fun to talk about, and there's no end of accounts out there that you can talk about where somebody was on a camping trip or they were out fishing and had a rock the size of a grapefruit chucked at their head like a baseball from half a mile away by some hairy looking thing that was bipedal and stood about 12 feet tall. And it's fun to talk about. But if people can take away something that inspires them and motivates them to do better and to be better, then that's what I would love to do for the rest of my life.
I would also like to do that same thing for the rest of my life. Obviously not talk about the same things, but no, if we can get this up to 100 subscribers by the end of the year, that would be a nice goal for now. That would be something I would love to just sit down, press a button, and just make money. That would be my actual goal, just to sit down on my laziest, or to lay down on my back and play video games, because I don't need to see visuals, so I can literally just listen to it and not have to worry about that. But I would love to be a streamer or just talk about things and make money. That'd be a nice little thing. Or to actually because I want your YouTube channel seems like it's flourishing, and I honestly wasn't expecting 32K. That's awesome for you. That's great.
Dude, it's been really, really sweet. It's been really awesome, and the community that I'm building, they've been so kind and so supportive. And I get the biggest charge when somebody reaches out to me, because like I said, I talk about the Bible a lot. It's the main focus, but I do talk about some of these other fringe topics. Like I want to reach out to this guy who did this whole series, or is doing a whole series called Missing 411, where people just go missing off in the woods, and there's like an alien component, and there's a Bigfoot component. Like, I want to talk about stuff like that too, but I get the biggest charge when they reach out to me privately and they say, "Hey man, thank you for doing what you do." And then they'll just open up and they're like, I've been really struggling with this and this in my life, and listening to you talk and watching your videos really reconnected me with my faith, and now I'm patching up my relationships, or I went out and got myself a job, or I quit drinking, or I found God. Like, dude, I get the biggest charge out of that.
Oh my goodness! So I keep on having those moments where I have things I want to say to you, but then I forget. Do you? This was actually something I was going to go segue now that I remembered. Do you believe that that depression is just frozen rage?
Frozen rage.
It's just rage that hasn't gone anywhere. It's just staying like there. That's sitting in your system. That's just. It has nowhere to go outwardly, or no outlet for you to positively channel that energy to, so it just sits there and it ends up becoming depression. Because I was thinking about it from a biblical standpoint, anger and rage, like there is very little reason for one to be angry or rageful. There's very little reason. And I watched a video today and used that, but since we're you're the whole biblical thing, you have the whole biblical mindset. I wanted to know what your thoughts were on that.
Well, I'm definitely in the Apostle Paul's camp, where he talks about anger, because anger in and of itself isn't a bad emotion to have, because you can have righteous anger or righteous indignation. It's what you do with that anger that dictates whether or not you're being sinful in it. So he even tells us, hey, go ahead and be angry, but in your anger, don't sin. And essentially, don't let your anger devolve into wanton rage. Because you look at Jesus Christ, he got angry on a number of occasions. He cussed out a fig tree, and the tree died. He went and fashioned a whip of cords. It tells us, I think it's either in John or in Luke. And then he walked back into the temple and kicked the crap out of anything within arm's reach with this whip. So he was justifiably angry. However, the anger and the consequences of his anger were always meant to bring correction, and were not malicious. So I look at anger that way: is my anger and how I may vent a frustration, or I may have to discipline my child. Is it me using my anger to be malicious or to bring correction? And if it's the latter, then I'm good. But if it's done in malice, and I know that's an evil thing that I don't want to indulge in. As for depression being rage that hasn't had a place to go, that's a really interesting concept, and I think there's probably something to that. I don't know. Have you ever listened to any lectures by Jordan Peterson?
I've listened to some things by Jordan Peterson, but not like I haven't listened to a full-on lecture.
I would suggest you get his audiobook, 12 Rules for Life, and read that with your ears here, because it is very, very practical wisdom, and he talked in one of his lectures. I don't think it was in the book, or it may have been in one of the books. But he talked in one of his lectures about, because he's also a clinical psychologist, so he's treated patients for a number of years. And one of the guys that he was treating, he was suffering from really, really bad depression, but it was also, he had OCD tendencies, and it was like they were starting to develop this almost like a tic disorder. He just, certain itches that he had to scratch, which they were manifesting physically. And through working with the guy and talking with him and letting him talk, Jordan was able to deduce that this guy, his root issue was a problem that he had with his father. And he said, well, what would you like to do to your father? Because his father had really done him very, very poorly when he grew up, and had really been unkind to him and cruel and sort of savage to him. And when he said to him, well, what would you like to do, as a, recognizing that that's your thorn right now, is this unresolved trauma and this unresolved episode, or number of episodes with your father. What do you want to do in the face of that? And the guy said, I'd like to pick him up and shake him like a rat. And Jordan recognized, this guy has rage trapped inside of him. Like you said, he has not found a constructive way to deal with that and to bleed that pressure off. And as a result, it's now manifested in this life-crippling depression and OCD that he can't seem to shake, because he won't address the initial root, which is the rage that he has towards his father. And so we worked with this guy, and they were able to free him of that. So I think there is something to the idea that depression is unescaped rage. I mean, I don't know if I would say it's a definite, but there seems like there is for sure something to that idea.
It was just something I saw on Twitter of all places earlier today, and thought I'd bring it up. Because the person,
it's a cool concept.
depression sucks. That's all I got for that one. I mean, he just said so.
Yeah, you're not wrong there.
And that's why you watch our YouTube channels, to get better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You watch them for that step away from reality, or for learning more about your reality and what you can do about it. Because, like, I think a lot of the depression stems from it. There is a certain underlying anger that I think besets people, and when they don't know how to handle it, they get frustrated at themselves because they're not manning up or womaning up to deal with that. And what's going to happen if you're frustrated with yourself? Well, you're going to be unkind to yourself. You're going to be really unkind. You're going to think bad things about yourself. You're going to behave in a way that is self-destructive. And that depression is just going to get worse and worse and worse as a result of it. It's just going to be this negative feedback loop. And you're just going to push yourself further and further down the hole. So you have to break that cycle long enough to recognize that you're a being that is worthy of love, for sure. And then make that willful choice to care for yourself and treat yourself like you're someone who you're responsible for taking care of.
Words that everybody can live by. We are all loved in some way. I mean, if you have the biblical mindset of, it's obvious to give a very valid example of where we're showing love.
Oh yeah,
that's for sure.
Definitely. I mean, we're all worthy of it, for sure. And a lot of times it comes down to just being kind to yourself. Because face it, we're our own worst critics. I am my own worst critic, hands down. There is nothing anybody could say to me that is going to be worse than what I say to myself or have said to myself. Nothing. Like, people can't touch me compared to some of the awful thoughts that I've had about myself.
Yeah, no, I can equate to that. We are our own worst enemies. The things that, I never thought of it like that, but you're right. You're definitely right. We are our own worst critics. Did did you having your kids, like, what? How much of a reality shift for you when you had your first kid? Because you said he's 3 right now, so it was 3 years ago. So it was around the time of your cancellation. I'm assuming that's actually he would have been maybe a little bit less than 1 when you were going through your cancellation. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep. He was, I think, like. So the first time, he hadn't even been born yet. The second time around, he was like 8 or 9 months old, and dude, becoming a father, wow, that shifted so many things. But I think at the same time, also, like it showed me what was really important in my life, and it kind of pulled the curtain back on things that I knew were there and were issues inside my life, but was choosing not to deal with them. Like, sort of that idea of that undealt with rage manifesting as depression. There were things that I hadn't addressed and was staying away from and avoiding. And like holding them in my arms for the first time, like 2 things happen to you. If you're a man of conviction and you have a desire to do and to be better, and you have a desire to make the best life for your family possible, 2 things happen to you when you have a child and you hold them for the first time. On the one hand, you realize that the capacity for love that you thought you had has just doubled, if not tripled, in size. You realize that you have so much more room in your heart for love than you ever thought you could have. And then 2, you become the most dangerous person alive, because you say to yourself in that moment, I love this little baby, and I would kill anybody to get to him and make sure that he was safe. I would tear through a room full of people. I would raze entire cities to the ground if it meant keeping him or her safe.
Parenthood is a beautiful thing, and it's something that, unfortunately, like most things in life, we as humans have corrupted it down to a horrible thing, or made it into a horrible thing. When in actuality, parenthood, the miraculous, as guys, because we can't give birth, obviously, as much as the internet wants to think we can't.
Yep.
But the act of holding that child that for the first time, the act of, because I recently and I don't have kids, ladies. If you want to put in applications, I don't have any kids. So a friend of mine let me hold her baby. It was about maybe 6 or 7 months old, and when I held that baby and looking at that, obviously I couldn't see it, but in that moment I went, I want to protect this small little precious egg as best as I can, because even though it's not my kid, it's such a precious creature. Like, it's innocence personified, and I must protect it. So I don't doubt that when I get that and that was recently. That was like in the last year or so that I first got that feeling. So I don't doubt that when that I actually have my own kid, that feeling is going to be doubled or tripled, as you put it. And just going based off that feeling, I can, if it's anything like the feeling you're going to feel when I do end up having my very first child, then yeah, that's an experience and a half.
Oh yeah.
Especially knowing that you help create that human being that you're holding.
Yep. And then you get, like, once they get to the age where they can actually start to talk to you and articulate things to you, as if they're feeling sad about something, or they're frustrated, or they want something. Like, it opens up a whole nother level of learning that you go through, because now you have to try and put yourself in their shoes and figure out, okay, well, what's motivating this little person, and how can I communicate with them in a way that makes sense to them? Because obviously the logic center inside a toddler's brain is nowhere near the same level that an adult is, and some things that make sense to me for him. It's I may as well just be speaking a whole different language, and like and this is again the caveat being, if you're a man or a woman that is intent on interpersonal growth and being the best version of yourself that you possibly can at every turn, you grow in patience. Oh my gosh, you grow in patience like you wouldn't believe. Your patience is tried and tested every single day. And some days you're coming to the end of the day just before you go down for bed and you're like, I just want the stiffest drink possible right now because I just need to take all the edges off because this is so hard. But you wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
And gentlemen out there, remember these are words from a man who's had who's had 2 children, so he knows.
Yeah.
He should know. I mean, he I don't think he's making them old dad noises yet, but he will be soon.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's why I'm staying on that carnivore diet. Got to keep my protein intake good and high. Keep up with them.
Oh gosh, you're gonna have fun times, especially when they get old enough to date. Because one of them, on the one hand, you got your son, and then on the other hand, you got your daughter, and they're going to be 2 completely different experiences.
Oh yeah, I'm probably gonna take a page out of Bill Engvall's book, and when the boys come a calling for little Isabel, sit him down and go, "Hey man, that's my baby girl. So if you get any ideas about touching or kissing or necking, just know I got no problem going back to prison."
Necking. And that child of yours and that same kid will go, hold on. I get what you're trying to say, but what the hell is necking?
I'm like, hold on a second. Let me pull up Leave It to Beaver for you. We'll
yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, how much longer I got you for there, brother?
Well, actually, I'm probably going to have to take off here in the next few minutes. I think it's coming up for feeding time for Isabel.
Alrighty. Well, I won't keep you too much longer. I will, though, leave you with some wonderful slice of life anime because I know you love them so much, and you told me before, Clannad is the one that most recent one you saw, and there are so much better out there. I mean, yes. Depending on your threshold, obviously, if you want drama, I mean, Death Note theoretically is a slice of life, but not really, kinda. I mean, it takes place in school. I mean, Durarara is kind of a slice of life from what I've heard. Steins Gate is a slice of life.
Yeah, I suppose it is.
You should definitely get on and watching that Black Lagoon, though. 100% Black Lagoon. And
yes.
I don't think you have anybody that is in the Magic and Muscles dubcast that you would want to verbally punch with a shoe, because it's all union-based California actors. So I doubt you've ever interacted with any of them. I suggest Magic and Muscles, just because it's humorous. It's what happens with One Punch Man, Harry Potter, and Black Clover all have a symbiotic child together.
Alright. I could probably get into that.
But yeah, if you have anything else you'd like to plug, before I get out there, I'll have the last word, but since you have to go soon, is there any YouTube channel you want to plug, anything, any social medias? Go ahead and do that.
Yeah. If anybody is interested in learning, okay, we'll back it up. If anybody is interested in understanding the motivations that Christians have for living the way that they do, check out my channel. I really do my best to give an answer to anybody who asks an honest question, especially when it comes to hard questions, like I mentioned before, the idea of cruelty and suffering or slavery in the Bible. So if anybody wants to learn more about that, please stop by the channel. Also, if you like seeing somebody engage in a culture war in a meaningful capacity, but trying to cut through all the noise and get down to what's really motivating those malintents out there, people that run our nation's governments, people that run our nation's foundations and corporations, my channel might be one for you. We go down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole. I only like to speak in definitives, though, about the scripture. Anything outside of that, for myself, unless I can verify it with my eyes and my ears, is suspect. So if you're looking for sort of a cool, I guess, sci-fi trip, check out my YouTube channel. It is Angel Legend. It's all one word, ANGELEGEND. You can find me on Rumble at the same name. And if you like the work that I do and you feel so inclined, consider donating to my locals page, also Angel Legend. Donors all get exclusive access to PDFs of every single research paper and topic that I cover, with endnotes included, so you can ferret out those sources and see if what you've been told is indeed so. And the support is greatly appreciated. And, I'll send the links to you.
Alright, thank you. And I will get those links and put them in the description, as well as my Twitter. My Twitter will be going in the description. Why don't you go over there? I'll put Erik's in there as well. Why don't you give us a good little follow? You know, I post from time to time. You don't really see me post that often, but when you do see me post, it's probably going to be something that'll either make you laugh, make you cringe, or make you want to go, why did I follow this man? But if you did stay all the way till the end of this, I'd like to thank you for dropping by and stopping by. And that the days of this culture war, wherever you may fall on the side, hopefully you fall on the right side, and not the stupid side. But things can be hard in this world. And hopefully you were able to sit back, relax, and enjoy this small piece of paradise known as the Paradise Podcast. We're not consistent when it comes to the guests we have, because it's so hard to get voice acting guests when you have wrong think to them. But we do have a couple of them coming. We have one more coming just next week. It's going to be more of a recorded session, so it won't be live streamed. So we're looking forward to that, as long as something stupid doesn't happen there. I'd like to thank Erik Rolland for showing up today. It was really nice to him have it as a guest. He's always welcome over at the Otaku Paradise. And for anybody who hasn't, if you made it all the way to the end, please leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe. And go over to Erik's channel and give him a subscribe, and maybe like his most recent video. I don't know. And if you do end up subscribing to our YouTube channels or to our Twitter, leave a comment saying if you got sent by any of us. And like I said, I hope you come back, and this was impromptu, and you probably, or maybe you did know about it, but no matter what, I hope you come back in the future, so you can continue to enjoy, in these trying times, these small little pieces of paradise. Until next time, guys, I'll be back with either a Rent Room episode, or a episode talking about a new book I've read. So far, I'm in the middle of wrapping up the Radley's Horny House of Monsters books currently, and that will be the next big project. But until next time, guys, I'm Brad from the Otaku Paradise. Like I said for the third time in a row, thank you to Erik Rolland, thank you to all that have joined us, and I hope you come back to enjoy this smaller piece of paradise. Until next time, guys, don't be dicks to each other, and stay good. Bye!